All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story, Hadi Choopan, a physique update from the fan favorite, your 2019 People's Champ at the Olympia. Hadi Choopan posted kind of a weird physique update here, but he does look extremely impressive if this is recent. He posted kind of a quick shot of his quads and his calves, and he is like vascular out of his mind. If this is at 7 weeks out from the Olympia, he is looking extremely impressive because obviously one of the things that everybody likes so much about Hadi is that conditioning that he brings, and that's what we've been missing at the Olympia for a long time, is conditioning really on the level that Hadi's was, where the conditioning alone just makes you say, wow, I mean, this guy is in crazy good shape. And that was the main comment that I heard from various people in this industry after the 2019 Mr. Olympia was, wow, Hadi was in incredible shape. That was the takeaway that a lot of people had from last year's Mr. Olympia. And if this is any indication of what we're going to see from Hadi, assuming he gets to the Olympia, if you put the visa issues aside, he looks really good. Now, he did also post right after this what is a recent workout video, although he's wearing a hoodie in this video. This is recent, and this is kind of a stretch to try to judge this, but looking at his calves, I mean, his legs look extremely vascular in the calves, and they look similar to how they looked in that video from what you can see. He looks like he's in similar shape. So I think that video of his legs was recent, probably right before this training video. So I would say that Hadi is definitely looking like he's in very good shape for the Olympia. He's definitely prepping as if he's going to compete. He is, of course, qualified. Just the big question is going to be whether or not that visa goes through and Hadi is able to get to the States and actually compete in Vegas. I think that's really the only question right now. And then the question after that is when he does, if he does get to the Olympia, where will he fall in that lineup? Now, next up in the news, very similar to the Hadi Choopan update, Phil Heath, weirdly enough, posted kind of the same thing. A short clip of just his legs, but he's training hamstrings. I guess in Hadi's video, you could really mostly see his quads and his calves, but Phil's is kind of trying to highlight the hamstrings there. So it's kind of weird. You don't typically see like a legs-only physique update going into the Olympia, but today you got to see two of them from arguably two of the favorites to be in that top three at this year's Mr. Olympia. So if you compare the two, and this is what I want you guys to give your opinion on in the comment section below, to me, if that video of Hadi is recent, I think he looks like he's in a lot better shape than Phil is, at least from the lower body. But then again, you guys did see that video of Hadi and Phil from like a couple years ago or a year ago where Phil was absolutely out-angling Hadi. So even if Hadi needs to be in that level of condition, so I guess take it with a grain of salt if Hadi is in much better condition than Phil at 7 weeks out. Hadi needs to have that level of conditioning if he were to be competitive with a guy with Phil's genetic gifts, because Phil has a structure and a shape and roundness to his physique that Hadi couldn't train for. It's really genetic. So Hadi would have to out-condition Phil if he were to stand next to him in a call-out or potentially beat him. But we did get the rare Phil Heath update, and I was glad to see that, and it does look like Phil is certainly on track for the 2020 Mr. Olympia, and I'm excited to hopefully see some more physique updates from Phil. But I have a feeling he is going to go the route of being very quiet, being mysterious, not showing too much, and then just coming to the Olympia. Hopefully, his plan is to shock everybody and make everyone not need to talk about him leading up to the show. But I guess we'll see what happens. And I know everyone always says, they also say that I'm a fanboy of Brandon, but don't get me wrong. I would love to see Phil come in and win the 2020 Mr. Olympia. I would love to see Phil come in and get his 8th title because, again, at the end of the day, I'm just a bodybuilding fan. And as a fan of bodybuilding, for there to be another bodybuilder tie the record of Olympia wins with Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman, to get that 8th title, to move past Arnold Schwarzenegger with the 7 wins, that's a big moment in bodybuilding history. It's not every day, it's certainly not every year, that you get a new record-tying Mr. Olympia champion. And if Phil were to tie that record, he now has the potential to come back again next year and be the winningest Mr. Olympia of all time. And that is certainly something I want to see. So, yes, you could say I do want to see Phil win the Olympia because that would be a cool story to talk about, is whether or not Phil decides to go for number 9 if he does win. Now, next up in the news, let's talk about this British Grand Prix. So this is going to be Wednesday. So there will be a live stream for this event. And my understanding is they had to move up this event because the country is going back into a lockdown, I guess, this weekend. But there will be a live stream. So this is the information. It looks like pumpedmedia.co.uk/live-event. And it looks like it's going to be 20 pounds or 25 pounds on the day. Oh, if you pre-order it, 20 pounds, 25 pounds if you do it the day of. So there you go. There will be a live stream. Now, speaking of the British Grand Prix, we've talked about Regan. We've talked about James Hollingshead. But a guy that I really like in this lineup, he just made his pro debut at the Spain show, at the Europa Spain. Mark Hector. Now, I've mentioned him in a couple other videos, and he's posted a lot of physique updates. But what I really like about Mark is the aesthetics that he has to his physique. Now, again, he's a very new pro. His pro debut was at the Europa Spain just a couple weeks ago now. But look how aesthetic this guy is. And look how small his waist is. He's got a great V-taper. He's hitting a vacuum pose. He's very, very reminiscent of one of my favorite classic bodybuilders, Brian Buchanan. And back in Brian's day, they called this being wasp-waisted because the waist is just so small, kind of resembling a wasp in that area. And it's insane how small this guy's waist is and how good his V-taper is. And he's got a decent amount of size. His conditioning was really good, I thought, at the Europa Spain. I think maybe he wasn't really in that conversation for the top 3 or 4 because of the fact that he needed a little bit more size. That could have been what was holding him back. But maybe in a show like this, with a little bit less bigger guys, I mean, Regan and James are going to be his main competition, he might have an opportunity to really stand out in this lineup and get a really good call out, a really good shot. I think he was compared to Regan and James at one point in the Europa Spain show, if I remember correctly. So he did get decent calls there. So I think he's a guy to look out for, certainly if not this show. In the future, I think he's got the structure and genetics to carry him a long way, and I think his conditioning is really good as well. But he's really got a great genetic structure, so I'm really excited to see what he's able to bring to the stage here in a couple of days. So be on the lookout for Mark Hector. I know everyone's going to be watching for James. Everyone's going to be watching for Regan. But I think Mark Hector is definitely a guy that's got a tremendous amount of potential, and I think he's going to be underrated going into this lineup. Now, next up in the news, Hafthor Bjornsson, his latest physique update. A lot of people are sending this to me saying it looks like Hafthor has lost even more weight. He has not specified in maybe a month, over a month now, if he's lost any more weight or what he's currently weighing. But in this recent picture, he looked very, very thin comparatively to how he looked. Again, you can go back and look at how he looked when he did the deadlift world record back in May, I guess it was. He looks like he's really taken off an incredible amount of weight. And it's hard to say a guy like Hafthor looks thin because Hafthor is a massive human being. But in this picture, he does look significantly thinner than I think we've seen him in the past. And again, as most of you already know, the primary reason for that is his upcoming fight in 2021 with Eddie Hall. Obviously, as a strongman competitor, Hafthor was weighing, like in excess of 450 pounds. And while that might be great for the World's Strongest Man competition, that doesn't necessarily translate to boxing. So both him and Eddie have been stripping off the weight, leaning down, getting conditioned. But to me, it looks like Hafthor has made significant progress towards the goal of weight loss. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It really looks like he's dropped down quite a bit here. Now, next up in the news, Wesley Vissers, a.k.a. Mr. Golden Era Champion 2017. He is showing off the gains that he's made over this past year as preparing for the 2020 Classic Physique Mr. Olympia. And he basically says in this caption, he finally thinks he's put together his best physique ever in terms of what he believes is a true representation of a classic physique. And he says in the caption there, I have a feeling that the last offseason I have finally developed enough to showcase my personal vision of what I think classic bodybuilding is all about. Having enough mass should simply not be overlooked in classic physique. So essentially saying one of his goals was to put on a little bit more size. And the question then becomes, if Wesley really has made that vast of an improvement, where does he fall in this lineup? Because, there's been some classic pro shows that he hasn't done that well at. But if he really did take that time to make significant improvements, what do you guys think? Here, I'll put it to you guys. What do you guys think that Wesley needs to improve to be successful on the Olympia level in classic physique? Is it his waist? A lot of you guys says he's kind of blocky looking. He looks kind of rectangular. I've seen that criticism. Is his waist maybe too thick, too blocky? What is it about his physique? His lower body, do you think that needs to improve? What do you guys think in the comment section that Wesley needs to improve? Now, the final story that I have for you guys today, a really recent updated video of Calum von Moger. So Calum, physique update. He's going to be competing here in a few weeks. If I'm not mistaken, he's like a week and a half out. It's not this weekend, is it? I don't think it's this weekend. I think it might be next weekend that he's competing. I don't know. He's getting really close. He hasn't said the exact show he's doing. He said the number of weeks out that he was. So we don't know exactly which show he is doing, but he is, let's say, a couple weeks out from doing that show. Now, he posted this post, which I thought was interesting. He said, happy how my legs have come back, particularly my right quad, after tearing it 2 years ago. I was stuck in a plateau with them for a very long time, but since I've been training them twice a week, the size and strength have finally returned. Either way, hard work and persistence always pays off. So the final question for you guys in this video, when we see Calum step on stage again, do you think the improvements that he will have made to his legs will be enough to correct the imbalance from that injury he suffered years ago? Or do you think it's going to be so significant, the imbalance in the atrophy in that leg, that is not going to be symmetrical enough to be successful in bodybuilding or classic physique? That's my question to you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. As always, please subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed yet already. Right now, we are 9,000 subscribers away from that 1 million subscriber milestone. So we're getting very close. The countdown has begun. Tell your friends, tell your family, share it, like it, tell them to subscribe, and let's get Nick Strength and Power to 1 million subscribers. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And as always, Nick Strength and Power, signing out.
So check out Arm Wrestling TV, Lee Knives Out Corner on YouTube, and Nick Strength and Power. He always shouts out our channel. So again, please help him try and get 1 million. He's very close and he deserves it. He's a great guy. Check out TeamPersonalRecord.com for the best lifting gear in the game, and we'll see you guys in the next one.